Hello there, this is TPA017 here, and today we're going to be having a bit of a look at some games that came out last month, September 2024. So you had a quite interesting little section last month. You had Shogun Showdown come out of early access. Perennial Order also came out. That's a boss rush title. You also had PICO Part 2 release. Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars, Reforged, Lorn's Law, CATO, and Utopia Must Fall. There's also a few other titles there as well. So, that being said, let's get started, shall we? So first up, Shogun Showdown by Roboatino. So it was in early access for a year and 3 months. Turn-based title with deck building and roguelike elements. It's set in a very pretty Japanese style. You upgrade your tiles and discover new skills as you take on the Shogun's forces and hopefully the Shogun himself. So. Yes, so that one's out for a few different little platforms, Windows, Mac and Linux, PS4 and PS5, Xbox One and Xbox X and S, and the Switch, and that is $14.99 US. System requirements, generally they're really not too bad, to be honest. Windows 7, 8 or 10, or Ubuntu 18.04, 1.7 GHz CPU, 1 GB RAM, Intel HD graphics 3000, and 500 MB of free space. It's really nothing to worry about. Similar on the Mac side, Mac OS X 10.7 Stone Leopard, 1.7 GHz CPU, 1 GB RAM, 500 MB of free space. You won't have any trouble running it. Okay, next up. Perennial Order by Gardenfiend Games. You might have seen this one a few months ago. Some of the other channels covered it. So it's a very pretty 2D boss rush title. Get some pretty, well, they're pretty weird enemies. It's this kind of dark, eldritch backdrop. It also has 2-player co-op as well. It's really worth a look. So let's have a look at the trailer. Yeah, so that one is Perennial Order, available for Windows and Mac, PS5 and Xbox X and S, $19.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, dual-core 2.4 GHz CPU, 8 GB RAM, 1 GB GPU, and 11 GB of free space. So it's a little bit of a larger game for what you think it is, but it's a very pretty one. On the Mac side, macOS 10.13 High Sierra. Once again, dual-core 2.4 GHz CPU, 8 GB of RAM, 1 GB GPU, and 11 GB of free space. Okay, next up, CATO, Busted Cat by Team Woll. Now, this one's a puzzle platformer featuring a cat and a piece of buttered toast. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It has over 100 main levels though, and over 60 side levels, and a number of unlockable skins. It's well worth the look if you're interested in a bit of a platformer. So let's have a look. So that one is CATO, Windows, Mac, Linux, $10.99 US. System requirements, they're really not too bad to be honest. Windows 7, Service Pack 1 or Ubuntu 18.04 LTS, 2 GHz CPU, either Intel or AMD, 4 GB RAM, Intel HD graphics for 4400, or something with DirectX 11 support, which is quite a lot of them, and 800 megabytes of free space. On the Mac side, pretty much similar. macOS 10.12 Sierra, Apple M1 or Intel 2 GHz CPU, 4 GB RAM, Intel HD graphics, and 800 megabytes of free space. So you won't have any trouble running it. Okay, next up, Utopia Must Fall by Pixeljam. So this one's launched into early access, a vector style based defender / arcade shooter, which easily generated attack waves, and there's just a number of different upgrades as well. They expect it to be in early access for about 6 to 12 months. It's a very pretty one. So let's have a look. Yep. That's right. Yes, it's really reminiscent of the older titles. So, Windows and Mac, $5.99 US. System requirements. Well, they're comical, really. I'll quickly go over them. Windows 10 or Mac OS 10.15 Catalina, 1 GHz CPU or Apple M1, 2 gigs of RAM, Intel HD graphics 4000 or better, and 250 megabytes free space. Basically, it's if you haven't watched this video, you're able to play it. So, next up, What the Card by Triband. So, follow up What the Golf, a quirky little racer, number of levels and mechanics, including chopping veggies, swimming, jump rope, and also has a level builder. So, let's have a look.
What the car?
Okay, so, that one came out for Apple Arcade last year, I believe. So I've included those platforms as well. So, it's available for Windows and Mac, iOS, tvOS, and Apple Vision Pro. $19.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, Intel quad-core 2.6 GHz CPU, 2 GB RAM, NVIDIA GT 750M 2 GB or newer. That one's a really old one at the moment, so, and 2 GB of free space, so you won't have any trouble running it. On the Mac side, Mac OS 10.11 El Capitan, 2.6 GHz Intel quad-core or Apple M1, something like that. Yeah, 2 gigs of RAM, similar for the graphics, and 2 GB of free space. Alright, yeah. Next up, Chef RPG by Pixel Architect / World 2 Studio. So this one's been in development for 4 years so far, released into early access. Expected to be in there for about 1.5 years. Currently features over 240 recipes to discover and create, over 20 major characters to meet, and maybe romance, and 2 restaurants to manage, as well as a skill tree. So, let's have a look-see. I have to say, Watch Crest is quite nice, but anyway, move on. So it's currently for Windows and Mac. There's talk about a Switch version as well, but that's currently a bit later on in development, and it's $19 so it's on US. System requirements: Windows 8 or higher, a 2 GHz CPU, 2 gigs of RAM, DirectX 9 supported GPU with 512 megabytes, which is basically all of them, and 5 gigabytes of free space. So it's a bit on the larger side for a little RPG, but anyway. On the Mac side, Mac OS X 10.10 Yosemite, 2 GHz CPU, 2 gigs of RAM, OpenGL2 supported GPU with 256 megabytes of VRAM, and 5 gigs of free space. So not too bad. Next up, Picopark 2 by Tecopark and Gemdrops Incorporated. Yeah, probably saw this one quite a bit. The sequel, the original one, it's tortured quite a few streamers, to put it mildly. This one features local and online cross-platform multiplayer with more levels and dark mode for an extra challenge. So let's have a look. Oh god. So Picopark 2, Windows and Mac, Xbox X and S and Switch, $8.99 on US. System requirements, not too bad. Windows 10 or 11, 64-bit, Intel Core i3, 4 gigs RAM, and 1 gigabyte free space. Mac side, pretty similar. Mac OS 14, Sonoma, Intel or Apple M1, 4 gigabytes RAM, and 1 gigabyte of free space. Now, next up, Pyrene by Two Tiny Dice. This one's a roguelike deck builder dungeon crawler based on Basque mythology. That is a region in southern Europe, I believe. I'd have to check. It has a number of heroes to unlock and over 200 relics to discover, as well as over 100 cards to use across a number of biomes, a number of different areas, and you can also rebuild and upgrade a village as well. So let's have a look. Okay, so that one is Windows and Mac, $14.79 US. System requirements, Windows 7, 64-bit. Basically, any CPU. I mean, the minimum requirements area is a Intel Pentium 3, which is about 20 years old at this point. 500 megabytes RAM, a 64 megabytes GPU, and 500 megabytes of free space. It's basically, if you have it just Twitter, you have to play it. Next side, Mac OS 10.15, Catalina, Apple CPU, no Intel, just Apple, 4 gigabytes RAM, and 500 megabytes of free space. Next up, Nocturnals by Cowboy.GAMES. This is a short choose-your-own-adventure game set in the post-apocalyptic town of Ruddleside. Puzzles and collectibles to discover, and set among some stylized 3D environments.
How did this all even happen?
I've been looking for a community for a while, but I've had no luck.
Oh, what the f- Just give me the keys!
I'm Ted, by the way. I'd shake your hand, but...
Just don't try and kill me, that's all I ask.
Thanks.
Diego. Nice to meet you, Ted.
There's a Nocturnal in Ruddleside.
We can't stay in Roboatino. It's not safe. Hey, look. I actually forgot how nice it could be to talk to someone else, especially my own age.
That is what I would say.
How do you feel about what you did?
I regret what I did, but it was me or her. She deserved it. I'd do it again.
I just think if we see our goodbyes outside of Roboatino, then we can at least end it on a nice note, you know? I don't want to let my past interfere.
What's the point in surviving if you're just going to do it alone for the rest of your life?
I couldn't see anything bad happen to you, but you haven't always made the right choices when it came to survival. Glass? You could have just used a brick. I know you didn't want to be alone again, but don't give up hope of finding a community out there. Okay, come on, quick!
So, this is where we say goodbye then.
So it's an interesting little thing. Windows, Mac and Linux, $7.79 US. System requirements, not too bad. Windows 10 or the Linux ones aren't actually given, but I'd assume, I'd say Ubuntu 16 or 18, something like that. 2 GHz dual core CPU, 8 gigs RAM, 4 GB GPU, and 3 GB free space. And on the Mac side, Mac OS 12 Monterey, AMD A8 7600 APU, or a Intel or Apple CPU. 8 GB RAM, 4 GB for the GPU, and metal cable, which is about, you've got about 20 years or so to pick from there, and 6 GB free space. So, in short, a fairly reasonably modern Mac, say about 8 years or so. Should be able to handle without any major dramas. Alright, next up. Broken Sword, Shadows of the Templars Reforged by Revolution Software Incorporated. So, the original one came out in 1996, a fair while ago. This is an updated re-release of the point-and-click adventure. Updated visuals and full voice acting as you visit exotic places and try to stop the Neo-Templars. It's a solid title for if you're interested in the point-and-click adventures, and if you want to see what games were like back then. Very pretty little thing. So, trailer.
From Revolution Software comes a new, enhanced version of the adventure that defined a genre. Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars, Reforged. An innocent vacation in Paris unwittingly draws young American George Stobart into a mysterious and shocking conspiracy rooted in medieval treachery. As George, you are thrown into the arms of intrigue as you uncover a sinister collusion which could cast the world into chaos. Embark upon a trailblazing exploration across Europe and the Middle East, where the people you meet weave riddles around you. Uncover their infernal secrets, reveal their monstrous plan. Call upon your deepest strength and staunch resolve. Challenge these conspirators to betray their unspeakable truth. This is clandestine. This is arcane. This is Broken Sword, Shadow of the Templars, Reforged.
So it's available on a few different platforms there. So Windows, Mac, Linux. It's also on Xbox, PlayStation, and probably for others. I didn't actually include them here. That's my mistake. So, $29.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, Linux 1 weren't actually mentioned. 1.6 GHz CPU, 2 GB RAM, 1 GB GPU, and 10 GB of free space. So it's not too bad, just to have the free space available. On Mac side, pretty much the same. Mac OS 12 Monterey, 1.6 GHz CPU, 2 GB RAM, 1 GB GPU, and 10 GB of free space. Yes, it's worth a look if you're a fan of the genre. So, Just to the Moon series, Beach episode by Freebird Games. Okay, this one's an interesting one. The series started in 2011. Very, very highly regarded, the original title. So this one's a beach version of it. I think this is the 4th game in it. Familiar faces and minigames, but it is very bittersweet. There's quite a few moments in it. A lot of the Steam reviews did mention they're tearing up and crying, so assume that'll happen to you if you play it. So let's have a look. Yes. Rightio. So that one is for Windows, Mac, Linux, $7.99 US. System requirements. Really, anything should be able to run them. Looking at that. XP to Windows 10 or Ubuntu 12.04, Intel Pentium 3, 1GB RAM, AMD Radeon HD 2400 or similar, and 500MB of free space. Mac side pretty much the same, except Mac OS X 10.6 Tone Leopard. But yeah, anything should be able to run. I'd be surprised if you had any trouble. Lorn by Rubeki Games. This one's another one you might have seen a year or so ago. A first-person free climbing platformer set in a very large, mysterious structure. It's got a retro 3D graphics feel. It helps bring up the atmosphere as you keep climbing onwards and upwards and try to figure out what the hell this is about. Now, the mature content warning, it has topics about blood, death, war and depression, so it's probably not a happy game. So, alright, trailer. Rightio, so Lorn available for Windows, Mac, Linux, $14.99 US, Windows 10 or Ubuntu 16, AMD Athlon 2 X2 255, which is a bit of an older one, I believe, 4GB RAM. GPU is above integrated, but I think fairly modern. Yeah, say a 4-year-old integrated graphics or something like that should be able to handle it. 2GB of free space. Next side, pretty much the same. Mac OS X 10.9 Mavericks, Apple Silicon or Intel CPU, 4GB RAM, something better than an iGPU, and 2GB of free space. Ratio. Rainy Day by Trees Game. This is a very short, hand-drawn kind of an obstacle avoidance game. A piece of paper that has to use this umbrella to protect against rain and not get splashed as he's returning home from work. A very short trailer, this one, but so. Yes, so that's the trailer. Windows Mac, this one's a freebie. System requirements, Windows 7, 1.8 GHz CPU or faster, 1GB RAM, 1GB free space. On the Mac side, Mac OS 10.13 High Zero, Apple or Intel 1.8 GHz CPU, 1GB RAM, 1GB free space. Okay, last up, Necroking by KORO.GAMES. This one's a turn-based deck building roguelite. Plays the master necromancer and raids skeletons, spiders and other things as you conquer villages and create your domain. So. yeah, so some different little creatures there. So that one is for Windows Mac, $4.99 US. System requirements: Windows 10, 64-bit, Intel Core i5 4440, or an AMD Ryzen 5 1600. They're a bit older at this point. I think about 10 years old, something like that. 6 GB RAM. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 960, or an AMD Radeon RX 560, or Intel HD graphics 4600. So, as long as it's yeah, you shouldn't have any trouble running it. And 1200 megabytes per space. On the Mac side, Mac OS 11 Big Sur, Apple M1, 4 GB RAM, an OpenGL supported GPU, and 500 megabytes free space. And that will do it for this time. You know, September's little roundup. So the October's one should be out about the 10th of November. So until then, I'll see you next time. And thank you for watching. And yeah.